All right, welcome everybody to China Connect 2016. I'm Bruno Ben Said. I'm the co-founder of Shanghai Vest. One of my co-founders is also in the room, Gila de Marais, who's a M&A advisory firm between China and Europe. And I'm also a director of Angel Vest, which is a 100-strong angel group out of China, which has invested already in 40 companies. Mostly in China, but also in the US. So I'm here as an advisor of startups, but also as an investor. And I've known the China startup industry for almost 15 years and been in China for almost 20. So that doesn't make us any younger, but it's going to help us also go through this Western opportunities in China panel. I'd like the panelists to first introduce themselves, and then we'll go through a few questions, and around the end we'll have a few Q&As. If you do have questions, please raise your hand so I can gauge the amount of questions and organize the time a little bit. So Mingpo, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yes, good morning. So I'm Mingpo Chai, founder of Cathay Capital. The reputation of Cathay is we do what we say. So last summer, I promised to Laure I will come to support such initiative, and China Connect is great to help French startup to go to China and probably help a Chinese startup to come to Europe. So I keep my promise to come to show my respect. Cathay funded 8 years ago. Today we are managing 1.3 billion euro. We have 6 offices: Shanghai, Beijing, Paris, Munich, New York, and San Francisco. We started by traditional private equity business, small cap, from first fund back 9 years ago, about 67 million euro to support SME, small middle-sized company, French one to go to China and Chinese come to Europe. This is our business model. We never change it. We see France is land of entrepreneur. I love France. France is extraordinary, and Chinese entrepreneur when they come to Europe should not just come to say I want to buy. No, Chinese entrepreneur when they come to Europe, come to France, first reflex should say how I can contribute, and then we grow from small cap into mid cap fund. So fund 1, fund 2, fund 3, mid cap fund 1, 500 million euro. 4 years ago, I committed myself to go to live in New York, and my entire life it is a miracle, because each time I met some people, and because I have people, then we do something. Last year, I met Denis Barrier. Many people, many of you know him in Silicon Valley. He is a Fierté Française, I call. He has been an investor of IPNU, because I feel familiar, because Tata Wars is one of our portfolio company. IPNU, it is the portfolio company of Denis Barrier. So last year we funded the Cathay Innovation, leveraging our global platform to support, to invest in China, in Europe, and US. One third, one third, one third. We funded the 28th August 2015, last year. And we raised 250 million euro. Within 6 months, we already raised about 230 million euro. Okay, so we have invested in 6 companies. I'm going to come back and maybe to show you some example of how we can develop in China.
Thank you, Mingpo. Ethan.
Hi there, Ethan Pierce. I'm managing partner for Nest Venture Capital, which is a early stage startup fund based out of Hong Kong. We're in Singapore, Nairobi, London, and Paris. And one of the differences with Nest is that we use corporate acceleration as kind of a due diligence or sourcing tool for our startups. So, for example, we have a smart cities accelerator with Nissan Infinity in Hong Kong. We have a digital health accelerator with Konica Minolta in Singapore. We have with AIA Insurance, we have a health tech accelerator in Hong Kong, and we have 3 fintech programs with DBS Bank, OCBC Bank, and Barclays. And so our model is based around working with corporates to find how they can work best with startups, but we are a fund first, and so our priority is sourcing great startups and helping them grow their businesses And one of the ways is through working closely with large corporations to create opportunities together. So that's what we do.
Here we go. We have a large corporation here that could be interested. Bin.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm Ping Gao, in charge of China development of AXA Group. Actually, I've been with AXA for already 20 years. And we started from zero, and now we have 4 operations entities, including life, P&C, asset management, and assistance. And within these 20 years, we have set up all the operations. Now the new challenge for us is the digital transformation. This is a key strategy for the whole group, especially for Asia and China. That's why after the first launch of our AXA Lab in Silicon Valley in 2014, we've set up another one, AXA Asia Lab in Shanghai. And my colleagues working with this lab are every day excited and tell me that they are witness of the wow effect every year. Everything is booming so quickly. The invention, the new things appear every day. So we are facing this very challenging situation, and we are very happy with top management with a very clear vision on the digital focus. And Henri de Gaston, you know, maybe the CEO of AXA, compared the digital evolution to the industrial revolution. And for the Chinese case, with the invention of the printing, that means the huge changes that are waiting for us.
Thanks. So that brings me to the first question, is because you talked about how the AXA CEO was fascinated by what he was seeing in China, but that doesn't tell me much about, was he fascinated by the Western startup that he saw there? I assume not. But rather by just the ecosystem and the entrepreneurship of the local entrepreneurs. So today, we start by a kind of odd topic for China Connect, because this is also to bring China to the West and the West to China. But I'd like to understand, do you see, as far as AXA Labs are concerned, in China especially, the opportunity for European and Western startups? And if you do, maybe try to identify within, you know, the different areas that you see as interesting for them, and probably not interesting for them for others.
Of course, this is actually one of the focuses we are working on. AXA has set up 3 arms to develop digital business, digital transformation. The first one is named Data Innovation Center. The Data Innovation Lab, which is headquartered in Paris, but with branches in US, in Asia especially. And this is our expertise center to implement those digital innovations around the world, especially in Asia and China. The second one is AXA Venture Partnerships, which are identifying those most innovative startups to either support them in their researches or innovations, or partner with them to put in place, to implement their innovations and in their inventions. AXA Lab, based in Shanghai, Silicon Valley, is our pioneer, if I can say, to follow very closely at the heart of the actions, either in Silicon Valley and in Shanghai, to identify the trends, to partner with those, again, most dynamic startups, either Chinese or
Can you be specific? Not maybe the names of the companies, because this is too specific.
I can. WeChat, maybe a lot of people know. We are working already with them. Our life and P&C entities are working with them.
Who is not working with WeChat?
Yeah, that's right. We put in place a claims process with AXA's life entity ICBC AXA, so our clients can go through WeChat to settle up their claims.
Okay.
And for P&C, they have the possibilities through WeChat to have quotation, to underwrite, and to purchase their car policy.
Sure. Do you think this is you'll be able to bring that to Europe? I mean,
I
that
think-
type of
I
buying
think so.
process, diminishing the friction towards adopting insurance policy and claiming, etc. I mean, WeChat has been an enabler. We're going to talk about WeChat the whole 2 days. So this is, this is the underlying of this show. I would say, I assume. Just specifically, what kind of application do you see for AXA? Because you didn't mention any startups whatsoever. So let's talk about AXA for a second. The opportunities for you to also bring back that innovation and leverage these platforms and maybe adapt them for the local environment in Europe.
Actually, I didn't mention the names of those startups, but they are a lot working with us.
Okay.
Either we were conducting innovation initiatives together, or we are implementing their inventions. But they are ongoing, so I haven't mentioned it. But I think if the implementation will be successful, you will learn from the press, I think. But I can quote a project, a digital project in France and in Asia as well. You may hear about UDrive, pay as you drive. This is a very easy application using the GPS. So clients, those volunteer can set up a box offered by AXA, which records your driving behavior. And according to your driving behavior, your premium will be adapted. Most of the case are decreasing. So every month the records is reporting to the company system. And the company adapted the premium, monthly premium.
And this is coming to China, from China? Or
No, this is coming from France.
Okay.
But implemented in Singapore and China.
Interesting.
For the moment, in China, the implementation is not very successful, but there are many reasons that we continue to push.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Mingpo, I know you're bullish into entrepreneurship, French entrepreneurs, and the cross-border element. Would you be able to identify some sectors that you're more bullish than others, where Western companies have an opportunity in China?
Yeah, and I just want to come back because the title is Western Startup and Chinese Opportunity. Why go to China? Because about the scale. You are a startup, you need to scale. And you need to reinvent the frontier. Geographically speaking, I don't think any startup you can call national startup. You have to take care of what is happening somewhere else. So China, today you have about 200 million consumers born after 80s. This is a key element to talk about the Chinese growth because people are talking about the crisis in China and so on. But this generation, the growth of the consumer power of this generation, where they go, they continue to consume, but no longer the same way, the same thing than their parents, including my generation. Okay, so this is the opportunity, and when you need to scale, you need two things. You need capital, but you need help. I'm an entrepreneur. Cafe business model. Why we come to innovation? Cafe, we never founded a new fund because it is for our own beauty, because we want to be useful to entrepreneur. Okay, so today we build first of all, alongside of money, we build a huge ecosystem with the corporate. We have two cornerstone investors, as Chinese Bank, BPI. But now we have a very important investor in Cafe. We have Captif, BNP Paribas, join in. We have MSSF, join in, one of the most important bank insurance company. We have SEB, SEB Group 7. And we are going to have one of the most important telecom group join in. They bring us not only money, they bring us ecosystem for whom? For you, entrepreneurs. Okay, for you to go beyond your frontier. And the second point, which sectors you ask? We invested two important investment in Silicon Valley. One, quantified. Second one, three-factor. Three-factor, the round A, round B.
The ones in China, probably we can mention.
Yeah, I come to China. Two big data company. Three-factor has been invested by Axel, in Nation, Greylock, the best VC fund in Silicon Valley. Why they accept the newcomer Cathay? In the beginning, they are sharing the Shiran. When they arrive, because I say, how we can help. You don't need to go to China, you go to France, immediately. The execution of Cathay is perfect. And these guys step up, back. They leave us to do the round. In China, we invest in Michu, the biggest women community in China. We use the period tracker, in the beginning, 3 years ago. Young entrepreneur, 28 years old, Fang Yi. They founded Michu. Today, we have almost 100 million users. We even don't need to buy the user, okay? Then, a couple of months ago, we plug into the e-commerce platform, and it can scale. This is the power of China. The scale, And we even ask IPU to text before we invest. Second deal, we do e-fund. It is the biggest platform of human resources. You have a recruitment, the big group, they're looking for the right talents. The right talents looking for the right job. We use the machine learning, again, based on our database. So these 4 deals bring us to 2 deals in France. For analytic, it is one of the most pioneer French company in app analysis. Okay, it is first a French entrepreneur get the investment of the personal investment, personal commitment of the founder of Salesforce. Okay, Sami. And today, when we bring all these startups connected, AXA is well known. AXA is doing great job in Silicon Valley in China. And when you plug into your ecosystem and having the China as a scale, and then you get almost everything you want. So it's not only about the sectors that we know. It's about why we go to China and what we are looking for, what China can offer you. So don't listen to macroeconomy. Too much economists, they are talking too much things. Consumers, 200 million consumers born after 80s. If only thing I want you to keep, this is China. Okay.
Thank you, Mingbo. So if there is a pioneer also in identifying verticals and building relationship with corporates, it's Nest. So this is going to help us also identify, go back to the questions I was asking, before we move on to some examples. So Ethan, can you tell us what Simon, your colleague in Hong Kong, has built and why he has picked some of these verticals and where this is going?
Sure, I think that's a great follow-up to Mingbo's response, because I think scale is the reason we go to China, but there are also very clearly identifiable verticals that are very interesting across. Today we're seeing the standard of living rise dramatically across Africa, India, and China, and that's creating specific opportunities for verticals in health tech, in smart cities, in fintech, and these daily usage things. And so what we've done in Hong Kong is for example, with DBS Bank, working with fintech startups, our programs are not actually very local. We source internationally, so each group of startups is between 150 to 200 startups applying from around 35 countries to spend 3 months in Hong Kong or Singapore.
Do they get funding?
So the way that it works for us is our accelerators are actually equity free, which allows us to source the best startups that are interested, because they're not worried about paying another 5, 10, 50% equity in another accelerating program. So in exchange, we don't fund them at the beginning of the program, but the entire point of the program is to raise valuation and to fund them, to help them find funding at the end. We do sign an option with them to have funding on the side with us.
Let's not spend too much time on technicality, though,
Sure.
Because this is something we know really well. But the audiences probably want to know, what happens to these startups after? I mean, of course they can raise funds. They don't raise funds, that's okay. Maybe they can be successful eitherwise. But what happens when, do they want to go to China actually? Because Greater China includes Hong Kong. That doesn't mean that the startups that are incubated or accelerated in Hong Kong actually go into mainland China and succeed there. Some of them do, some of them don't. So do you have some kind of stat that tells us what happens?
A lot of them are actually, well, they're not moving to Hong Kong or China, but they are, many of them choosing to hire somebody or to create a presence locally. The issue with startups for China is, at least with the US and with France, they don't trust a tremendous amount of things in mainland China, in terms of legal system, in terms of financial system. So they see Hong Kong as the safe version of China in order to learn how they need to do business in China in a way that's contextually more relevant for them because they can speak English. They have the Western banking system, they have the intellectual property laws that they understand in a way that it allows them to kind of dip their feet into what's going on in China, and yet they're right next door. One of the big things we see, at least with France, is hardware projects that want to prototype and produce in Shenzhen, but they want to do the business in Hong Kong.
Okay, so they're across so they in Guangdong, and then they have their headquarters in Hong Kong, and then the sourcing in Shenzhen and the rest of the Guangdong area.
Exactly.
Understood. So just to finish on my question, because it doesn't seem that anybody wants to answer it. So can we just identify, for example, you have DBS, so this is what we call fintech. Then you have AIA, which is insurtech.
AIA is health tech.
Okay,
It's more hardware focused than the insurance.
More hardware focused. And then you have Infinity, which is more about smart cities, etc. So where is this going? I mean, are you going to open accelerators in all the sectors that you see interesting, or some of them are just going to be more successful than others? I mean, I'm not asking for tough questions here. I'm just trying to see where we're going and why this is interesting for Western startups, because we have tons of other questions to also answer. So just
the opportunity for us, at least we see with startups, that Western startups wanting to scale in China is around these themes. So that is the answer. The answer is that these startups are going to Hong Kong in order to explore the ability in fintech, the ability to provide solutions to the unbanked in Africa, India, Southeast Asia, China. They're looking at health tech because we're rapidly seeing the standard of living and the quality of life improve in these regions. And so they're looking at solutions that can scale not just to 100,000 people, 500,000 people, but as soon as they have a solution that works in health tech, now it can be applied to hundreds of millions of people very quickly, and that's a scale that they cannot touch in the same way in the West. And so what we are seeing is that those startups in those specific verticals are very attracted to the region because of the scale. And so there are other verticals, but the smart cities one is very specific on with Infinity. Why does a car company want to do a smart cities accelerator? It's because they realize that in a few years, not only will we not be driving our own cars, but in the urban centers where 90% of the population of the world is going to live, they might not even have a car. So how does a company that knows how to create amazing products, build amazing products, sell amazing products, and distribute amazing products, what does that look like in 20, 50 years? Whenever cars are no longer necessarily the thing, but they have this amazing resource. So for them, it's about how to become smart cities relevant, even if that's about pollution or that's about transport in some way, but not with cars. Maybe that's about smart home issues. There's so many ideas that can be taken, but these startups are finding the ability to experiment in a market that's growing, and when it works, scale rapidly.
Understood. We haven't spoken about energy conservation, clean tech, and all these efficiency kind of projects. So, and I want to understand, this is to me one of the sectors where the West has a bit of an advantage in terms of IP over Chinese companies. So can you tell me, are you thinking about doing clean tech investments?
Be careful. Don't still think. I come from private equity. I can understand in the traditional sectors, Western have still a technology advantage. Okay, we invest in both. But in the innovation sectors, if you still think the Western still have an advantage comparing China, you are totally wrong. And stop comparing West and the East. Because giving the scale, I come back to scale, and you have also already second generation of Chinese entrepreneurs in the tech. They graduated from the three big schools, the BAT, okay, Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. They are young, they are hungry, they know where go to the consumer, their generation wants. So this new generation, given the scale, they already develop quickly some technology, and that they can hire any talents in the world, not any complex. So this is why in somehow you can go to China as well. So I don't say the Chinese technology is better than Western. I think this kind of comparison is not any sense. I'm Chinese.
This is not what I said.
No, I'm not here to debate. We talk to our audience to understand better. Okay, it's not a personal. So this is the very important about the scale to understand. And that is why I come back. You talk about the sectors. Given the list of our corporate partners, value connected car, why they committed 22 million euro, and then after visiting our first investment, their CEO decided to increase their commitment to 25 million euro. Why Group said in a household company, they committed a huge amount of money with cafe. Okay? Why this big financial institution, they are already very international, need us. You have to think over. A new area, new era is coming. The ecosystem, just the zero way is over. You have to rebuild the entire ecosystem. You have to consider the ecosystem as a ball. No one dominates the else. We are there to satisfy this unfulfilled demand. This new generation of inspiration. They want to experiment. They want to be participant. Okay, and you need a scale. Now, two markets important: U.S. and China. You have to go.
Thank you. Want to add something? I have
I totally agree with the importance of the scale, but I want to add two key elements behind this scale that are motors for the development. The first one is in March 2015, the Chinese government reviewed plan, Internet Plus plan, that encourages e-commerce through digital industry, e-commerce, big data computing, the cloud computing, and so on. So this is put on the very high standard, support encouraged by the government. The first one. The second one, when you as entrepreneurs, when you go to somewhere, the first thing you look at is the environment of the market. And the Chinese environment is very favorable to the digital industry. Why? Several reasons. From a cultural point of view, Chinese people are turned to accept more easily the new technologies, new things. And the second one is very important for the digital. Is they do not have the same notion, concept of the privacy. They are more open to be connected, to provide their personal data and so on. For example, a study conducted regarding to the Google car. So this replies also your question. No matter you are Chinese or Western, US, if you are innovative, if you are imaginative, you have your role to play in this very booming market. So the study conducted by the consulting firm on the automatic connected car made by Google, which will be available in a few years. 90% of Chinese consumers are ready to purchase such car against 24 in US and 37 in Europe. So that's to say you have a scale, a huge market. You have consumer ready to buy those most innovative products. Regarding AXA, as I said, we're working with a lot of startups. In Europe, which is more, we have started in Europe. We have already launched the teleconsultation, medical teleconsultation. Maybe you know. And in China, we are working on a lot of things. You know, one of the major challenges for China is aging population. So all those products, services to serve aging population for the health facility, we are working on. So all those areas are very promising.
All right, thank you very much, Bin. So to change bracket a little bit, one of the things I was thinking about this morning is all these startups that want to go to China and take advantage of the the scale and the pace and the networks over there. This is awesome. But why go to China when actually China comes to you? And I would like to give you an example of a technology partner that was invested by a Chinese investors on behalf of a larger corporation from China. And these guys never left their homes from Ireland and actually Silicon Valley. And the company is called Movidius. It's a company that is working in the vision industry, and they are now a partner of DJI. DJI is a competitor of one of the speakers today called Ehong, which is a drone company. And so to tell you the story, that company, Movidius, was actually invested by West Summit Capital, a private equity fund cross-border between China and the US, in order to strengthen and to help them scale and work together with DJI. So it's an example of a Chinese company or a Chinese investor just doing their shopping list in the US, in Europe, and acquiring the tech that they were either missing or they would have taken a little bit too much time to develop, so they decided just to acquire it. And to give you another example, 360 Qihu, which is in the process of being delisted, this is a huge search company in China, and the browser company acquired Opera software. Opera is the mobile browser that everybody knows. So these are examples. Last year or 2 years ago, Cheetah Mobile, another listed company from China, acquired Partner that actually came to China Connect 2 years ago, and they are still, and the team is actually growing into the ad network field and helping Cheetah Mobile, that Chinese company, expand their reach into the US and the Americas and Europe. So this is just an example that why go to China when the China opportunity is at your doorsteps, and you just have to open your doors and be open. So I just want to give a little bit more perspective on, going to China is actually tough, but opening up to China is actually not so difficult. One of the ways is actually to come to China Connect, by the way. That's obvious. So I want to also give some examples of successful companies, because I just digressed a little bit, of Chinese, European companies that went to China successfully and raised funds. Why raise funds? Because I use that metric to indicate success. It's not a success indicator as per se, but when you build scale and then you're promising for the Chinese market, raising money is one indication that you're promising and then you have potential. And in this case, this was in the Chinese market. So Apani is one of these companies. You have Virtuals as well. So maybe mention, if we can mention 1 or 2 examples that to give courage to the Western entrepreneurs. We still have 10 minutes. To the Western entrepreneurs that are in the process already going to China, looking for partners, and give them examples of this is the way that they have raised funds. So maybe you have some examples of companies that are French or European that you have funded for the Chinese expansion specifically. I'm not talking about investment in Chinese companies. I'm talking about, in this case, investment for expansion to the China market, and especially in the innovation side. Do you have examples to mention, or you want to address something else?
No, your question is right, but my answer will be broader. Because it's not just Chinese money or French money, Chinese company or French company. I'm really against it, because new generation of entrepreneurs, you should not categorize yourself on this kind of mindset. It's wrong, totally wrong. And today, any startup, when they start to raise money, for instance, when we invest, we have many co-investors come with us. And some could Chinese, some could be Western. And I see when I went to Israel, I see many Israeli companies started already experience what you say, to have some Chinese, even the big investor player to join them in the capital. But sometimes they get some reluctant feeling, because how could be useful? Because entrepreneur, you need money, but you need also the help. And sometimes what you say and what is executed is not the same. It is why the room for cafe, we found the cafe innovation, because we see clearly this unfulfilled demand. People, we need invent the frontier in a sense of capital, in a sense of market, but also in a sense, just not the traditional VC. Okay, it is my deal, it is your deal. No, we are open. Every resources is good because never one entrepreneur come to say, I'm a Chinese entrepreneur invested by a UVC fund. No, you define yourself by what you serve to your customers. Okay, this is for us the approach, the philosophy.
I'd like to mention you are actually a visionary and a leader in that industry, but not that many like you at the moment. There are more, but not that many. So you're a little bit ahead of the game, because when entrepreneurs, they see investors, there is a categorization. Maybe it's wrong, and we're trying to make them change their mind. But when you see a Chinese entrepreneur, Chinese investors, why we're talking about this industry, because we know it well, but Chinese investors are more comfortable in general with a Chinese entrepreneur, a French with a French. That's all I'm saying is we're trying to get away from this.
Yes, of course. If you are not this kind of entrepreneur, have really vision and a bit ahead, you are done. You are done. In the technology, winner take all. You are done. So the new generation of company, you have to think what is the next step. What is the next step? You should think big enough, and you have to think what is others not have yet done, and what is the consumers want is not what you want. Because the reason is quite often what I want to do. No one buy what you manufacture. No one buy what you want to serve. You should manufacture what people want. Okay, the user experience make all the success of all this last generation of success story.
I do think that I'm completely in agreement. It's something I push for very much with French startups, that you try and lose your country part of the startup, that you are not French, you are not German, you are not American, because international growth is we come always back to scale. It doesn't matter where you're from if you're creating a great product or service and it's scalable. I do think that one of the problems with Western startups trying to go to Asia is that there is a potential to have a preference for local startups. There are also plenty of examples of startups that are not Chinese succeeding, finding investment, and growing in China. So I think I think we're saying the same thing in the sense of it is a potential problem, but it is also something that we see plenty of people succeeding around. Just to go back to your point about China searching outside and not just people going to China, Huawei is coming next month to do a digital roadshow in France of 5 cities in order to source startups for their program in China. We're seeing the Chinese that are also going shopping outside of China.
That's what we said.
So I think there's a lot of great. It is going both ways. Just as a little side note for that, for statistic, because you wanted a number. At the end of our acceleration programs in Hong Kong or China, we have a demo day, and these demo days bring between 200 and 250 investors from the region. A significant amount of them are Chinese. We have an in-house equity crowdfunding platform with 800 Chinese investors on it, and they're all looking to invest outside of China.
Understood. And by the way, a side note as well. Why is it a little bit easier for European entrepreneurs to succeed in China than others? Is because Europe is actually complex, and they can address the complexity of China a little bit better than perhaps some Chinese entrepreneurs that don't really have an understanding of China and that think of the US as a unique market. Anyway, we only have like 5 minutes left, so I'd like to have questions from the audience. If you guys have enough coffee and courage, and just go for it. Just raise your hands and shout.
Bruno, just as you know, I want to
No,
emphasize.
I'd like to have questions from the audience.
Yeah, I want to emphasize the point of it down. It's very key. Today, the generation of entrepreneurs, they are in China or in US or in France. There could be some Chinese entrepreneur become entrepreneur in France, and many French people, they are entrepreneur in China, huge company, born. I have even a French original Iran, and found a company in Shanghai. Now he lives in San Francisco.
Thanks. No problem. All right, don't get in. Oh no, I'm not angry at all. I'm just trying to save time for the audience. No problem. It's actually a very lively debate, so I appreciate it.
While we're waiting for the person to grab the microphone for the question, whoever that might be, the French Tech Ticket, which is a program that welcomes French startups into France, had at least one Chinese startup, if not several, one from Hong Kong and a couple others. So this is very true. They're also going elsewhere. searching their opportunity outside in order to scale and not be seen just as Chinese.
So that makes a lot of sense. So
Who has a question?
Yes, yes. Anybody on the topics we have addressed, or new topics, or the China, the opportunity for cross-border cooperation, digital, anything? Normandy.
One of the things you've been talking about as part of startups is innovation, and China has a reputation for being a market that copies and doesn't innovate, which I think is maybe a little bit unfair. Maybe, do you have a comment about how much China is becoming a center for innovation now?
Who do you want to answer? All right, Bin. China is innovation center.
You may know that the learning of Chinese from a language, starting from a language, is starting from copying, and then exceed the master. So this is a process very closely linked to the Chinese culture, Chinese learning. So, and we saw also from the quantitative to the qualitative. China has been copying, it's known to the rest of the world for many years. But I think first they are entering into the stage of innovation and exceeding the master. Secondly, in the digital area, it's very difficult to copy. You cannot survive by only copying. You need to be imaginative, to be innovative, to survive, to win.
The copy the word is a reflect to a stagnation of concept or things. Copy, you understand the vocabulary. So today, given the scale of China, it gives you an opportunity to see the birth of thousands startups in China, and then the market bring them to the maturity. So in the human history, we are seeing a huge opportunity in the mobile technology with over 500 million population getting this mobile technology. It is China. And of course, not only China is important, but not only China, don't forget. Cathay today, we are very global. I'm not, because I'm Chinese, I insist in China. I insist as well in the US. We invest one third in 3 countries. But China just offered this opportunity about the scale. Again, when I have an idea, I want to go to the end. So.
And we will cover the topic of innovation across the 2 days. So I think this is going to be answered one way or another. One last question, we still have a minute. Anybody on digital transformation, the Western opportunities? If not, last comments, or we can close the panel? Well, thank you very much, Mingpo. You came for us this morning, and I understand you're leaving right after the panel. So thank you very much for coming, Ethan and Bin. Stay, please. You said you were going, but please. So Mingpo is going to be available for questions, I guess, after the panel. So please thank the panelists, and I'll see you in the 2 days. Thank you very much.